At just 15 years old, most footballers are still trying to figure out if they're even good enough to make it professionally. But at Manchester United, one teenager is already being talked about like the future. His name? JJ Gabriel. And after being named the U18 Premier League Player of the season at just 15 years old, the hype around him is beginning to explode. But here's the scary part. This isn't normal, not even close. Because JJ Gabriel isn't dominating players his own age, he's dominating older players at 15. And now fans are beginning to ask a dangerous question. Could Manchester United already have their next superstar? For years, Manchester United fans have desperately searched for hope, especially during difficult seasons. And whenever the first team struggles, supporters always look toward one place, the academy. Because throughout football history, Manchester United has always been different when it comes to youth development. This is the club of David Beckham,
Paul Scholes,
Ryan Giggs, Marcus Rashford. And recently, players like Kobbie Mainoo, Alejandro Garnacho have reminded fans that maybe, just maybe, the future still exists inside the academy walls. Now another name is rising quickly, JJ Gabriel. And the excitement around him is different. Because when academy talents are this highly rated at such a young age, people pay attention immediately. The first thing people notice about JJ Gabriel is confidence. Not arrogance, confidence. The way he receives the ball, the way he attacks defenders, the way he plays without fear. You would never think he's only 15. And that's rare. Because academy football can be brutal mentally. Young players are constantly fighting pressure. Pressure from coaches, pressure from parents, pressure from social media, pressure from expectations. One bad game online, and suddenly thousands of people are discussing your future. Imagine dealing with that as a teenager. Now imagine dealing with it while playing above your age group. That's what makes JJ Gabriel's rise so impressive. He's not just surviving, he's standing out, and there's a huge difference between those two things. One of the biggest reasons people are becoming excited about him is his playing style. Modern football is obsessed with athleticism, speed, power, intensity. But the truly special young players always have something else, composure. And JJ Gabriel already seems to have it. When he gets the ball, he doesn't panic. He looks comfortable, even in dangerous situations. And that's often one of the first signs scouts look for in elite young talent. Because technical ability alone isn't enough anymore. Top-level football is psychological. The best players process pressure differently, and JJ Gabriel already looks mentally advanced for his age. That's why so many clips of him keep spreading online. Not just because of flashy moments, but because of how naturally he plays the game. Some players look talented, others look born for football. That's the feeling many fans are beginning to get watching him. But this is where the story becomes dangerous, because football fans love Wonderkids, maybe too much. Every few months, social media discovers a new future superstar. The next Messi, the next Ronaldo, the next generational talent. And sometimes, the pressure becomes overwhelming, especially at a club like Manchester United. At smaller clubs, young players can develop quietly. At United, everything becomes massive instantly. One great performance becomes viral. One bad performance becomes criticism. One interview becomes headlines. There's no hiding. And we've seen talented young footballers struggle under that pressure before. Some disappear completely, not because they lack talent, but because football at the highest level is mentally ruthless. That's why United must be careful with JJ Gabriel, because right now the hype is growing fast, very fast. And hype can either create superstars or destroy young careers before they even begin. Still, there's a reason fans are getting excited. Manchester United supporters have watched their academy save the club emotionally multiple times over the years. When the first team lacks identity, academy players often bring it back. That's why fans connected so quickly with Mainoo. Not just because he's talented, but because he feels like a Manchester United player, calm under pressure, fearless, confident. And now, people are wondering whether JJ Gabriel could eventually follow that same path. Especially because modern football gives young players opportunities much earlier than before. 15 years ago, a 15-year-old breaking through sounded impossible. Today, teenagers are already changing elite football. Look across Europe. Young stars dominating Champions League games, teenagers becoming starters, clubs trusting youth more than ever. The game has changed. If a player is good enough now, age almost doesn't matter anymore. And that reality is exactly why people are watching JJ Gabriel so closely. Because if he continues developing at this speed, the first-team conversations will begin sooner than people expect. But talent is only one part of the story. Development matters just as much, maybe even more. Because football history is filled with young players who looked unstoppable at academy level, then struggled completely in senior football. The jump is enormous, physically, mentally, tactically. In academy football, talent can carry you. In elite football, everybody is talented. The difference becomes mentality, discipline, consistency, and decision-making. That's the real challenge waiting for JJ Gabriel, not youth football. Senior football, because once the hike truly begins, everything changes. Fans expect instant greatness. Media attention increases. Comparisons become constant. And suddenly a teenager is carrying expectations that even experienced professionals struggle to handle. That pressure can either shape a player or crush them. The good news for Manchester United fans is that the club finally seems willing to trust young talent again. And honestly, that may be the club's best path forward. Because some of United's most exciting moments in recent years have come from academy players. Players who understand the badge, players who play fearlessly, players who don't look scared by the pressure. That connection matters, especially at Old Trafford. And maybe that's why JJ Gabriel's rise feels so exciting emotionally. Not because people expect him to save Manchester United tomorrow, but because he represents possibility, hope, the feeling that maybe the next great United story is already beginning. And football fans love stories like that. But the smartest thing Manchester United can do right now is stay patient. No unnecessary pressure, no impossible expectations, no rushing development, because the world has already seen what happens when young talents are pushed too quickly. Careers can change overnight. Right now, JJ Gabriel is still developing, still learning, still growing, still adapting. And maybe that's the most important thing fans need to remember. At 15 years old, he doesn't need to become Manchester United's savior yet. He just needs time. Time to improve, time to mature, time to become the best version of himself. Because if the development is handled correctly, Manchester United may genuinely have something special on their hands, something rare, a young player talented enough to make an entire fan base dream again. And honestly, that might be the biggest reason this story matters so much. Not because JJ Gabriel is already a superstar, but because football is built on belief. Belief in the next generation, belief in potential, belief that the future can still surprise us. Right now, JJ Gabriel is just a teenager with enormous talent. But at clubs like Manchester United, sometimes that's all it takes for the world to start watching. And now, the football world is watching closely. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think JJ Gabriel could eventually become a first-team star at Manchester United? Or is the hype around him becoming too big to earn? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this type of football content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel because we've got a lot more football documentaries, transfer stories, and deep dives coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.